Okay, welcome everybody to the April 20th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Walpole Select Board. Being that the time is after 7 p.m., we will get started with our meeting. And we will start, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'll remind everyone that we'll be participating remotely in this meeting due to the unprecedented time in the history of the Commonwealth for which the governor has authorized remote participation for all public boards due to the emergency declaration order issued on March 12, 2020. And every vote will be taken by a roll call vote, whether we want to or not. So we'll begin. I apologize to everyone here. We have quite a few appointments. I know there's a lot of folks on the Zoom. So we'll begin with our 7 p.m. Appointment, which is a discussion and vote on updated Council on Aging policy and procedures. And so I apologize to folks. There's a couple dozen windows here, but I see Carrie. Oh, hey, Carrie, there you are, I see. And Jim Johnson. Did we lose Jim? We did lose Jim.
No, we didn't lose me.
Okay.
And Rich McCarthy's also here with the Council on Aging.
Oh, okay. I see Rich. All right. Hey, Rich, how are you?
Good.
Do you wanna introduce us into this here, or we just?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna do a quick handoff to Kerry, but I gotta tell you, they've been working on this for such a long time, and it's a quite an extensive document here. Rich, Kerry, and the current board over there at the council has done a great job putting this together. So, Kerry, do you want to kind of walk us through this?
Sure. So they did start doing these amendments at a time when they should have been at the 5-year review point, which coincided directly with the start of the pandemic. They picked this up very recently. They worked closely with Mark Gallivan in kind of helping them to amend these policies and procedures from bylaws to policies and procedures. In addition to updating things like Board of Selectmen to Select Board, they made just a few changes that were outlined in the memo that we provided to IFA about notification, posting dates, limits on timeframes that people could serve in one position on the executive committee, but very few changes, I think, overall to the whole document. Rich, I don't know if you have anything specific that you want to highlight.
No, you covered just about pretty much everything.
Do you have any specific questions?
Okay, well, sure. So, I know that all of the information was in the packet that the board received tonight, and everyone was able to read it and go through it. I myself don't have questions, but what we typically do here is just go around to everyone and see if there are any other questions or comments. So, Jim O'Neill, why don't we start with you, please?
Hey, thanks, Ben. Hi, Kerry. Hi, Rich. Thanks for being here tonight. And I don't really have any questions. I just comment that I appreciate the due diligence in going through the policies and procedures as required and doing all the proper updates. As I went through them, they all looked totally fine to me and were very clear. So again, I don't have any questions, but thanks for doing that, and also for just the great job that you're doing, running the senior center down there. It's really, really wonderful. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mark Gallivan?
Yeah, I would just say that I think the current Council on Aging board was very thoughtful in how they went through these policies and procedures and did the 5-year update. We did start this back in February of 2020, and they were able to just finish it up very recently. So that's a great thing. And I agree with what you said about Kerry. I think Kerry and all the people over at the council are doing a wonderful job for our seniors. I always enjoy seeing photos on Facebook and videos on the webpage of all the activities they run, the drive-by luncheons, all different things. So I think they're doing everything they can every day. And as things open up, I'm sure there'll be more inside activities and back patio activities. But, if you're a senior who's watching, if you're not connected with the council, please get connected, because they're doing great things over there and they can provide you resources if you need it. So thanks again, Kerry, and the Council on Aging Board.
Thanks for
And let me
saying
make
that,
a
Mark.
motion. I'll make a motion to endorse the updated Council on Aging policy and procedures.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Being that there is no further discussion, we'll proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Thank you again, Rich and Carrie, for being with us. And I would echo what Jim and Mark said. Our many thanks for over this really challenging last year and a half. You know, the Council on Aging has really been a beacon of light in town, and due to your hard work and others, obviously, that work with you. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. It's our pleasure to do it. Thank you so much.
Great. Have a good evening.
You too.
Moving on to the next appointment, we have a vote on the request of Shante Holmes to use the town common and sections of Elm and Front Street on Saturday, June 19th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. For a Juneteenth celebration. And we have Shante with us tonight. Hello, Shante.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Good, thanks. Good. And I know that there's a lot of information in the packet on this one as well that the board was able to review. But why don't we start, Jim Johnson, with you and or Aoife as far as just paperwork involved here, making sure that everything's in line.
Sure. So we received this request back on, I think it was mid-March or something like that. We've run it by the Board of Health and Police Department. They've weighed in. Melissa's been involved with the planning. I know Patrick Duchesne has helped out a little bit with the celebration setup and everything. From our perspective, everything is pretty much in line. Aoife, did I miss anything?
No, but I know that Pat has spoken with Rick and DPW too, so everybody is aware of what's happening down there, and everybody has signed off. So.
And I think just from some commentary on my perspective, it's going to be kind of the first event we've had in some time down on the common. I think it will give us some good idea of what things will work and what things won't work, or we need to look at a little bit further for hopefully things like Downtown Live and other events out there after a lot of people have their shots and are vaccinated.
Yeah, okay, very good. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Aoife. So Shante, I think what we'd like to do at this point is just have you talk a little bit about the planning for the Juneteenth celebration and what you have in mind. I see that there's some other folks on here as well. So please, go ahead, and then if there's any questions or comments from the board members, we'll go around after that point. So
Sure, thank you. Thank you everybody for having me tonight. I appreciate the time. So for Juneteenth 2021, so as some may not be aware, we did celebrate Juneteenth last year on the Common during the pandemic. It was very different because we didn't have any guidelines to go by, but we were safe and it was a success with the support of the community. So this year we are looking to have that be a little bit of an extension of last year. So we're going to approach it as a block party and really try to bring everybody out into the community to learn about the holiday, to learn about Black culture, and to also, like the gentleman just said before you, just to give us a chance to get outside and to just get some fresh air and together and to just learn and educate ourselves. In terms of learning about the history of the holiday, we will have displays. We're not gonna have any paper handouts or anything like that to just reduce passing out information, but we're really gonna try to focus on teaching the community and everyone that comes the history of the celebration and how the celebrations have evolved over time. So that'll be the education piece. I'd like to also note that I am working to have a DJ come and working with Melissa Ranieri on that piece, and so that's still in the works. I also have a COVID compliance officer who is on the planning committee, so someone that will be working with us strictly on making sure that we're in line with all the COVID guidelines and procedures. And in terms of entertainment, I'm looking at having some performances. All of that is still pending because I wanted to get this done first. But a couple of performances, again, everything will highlight the Black culture and, what Black culture brings to the community of Walpole.
Great. Well, I thank you for doing this, Shantae, and I think it's a great event. I was down there last year and had a lot of fun, and it was kind of at that point in the pandemic where everyone was wanting to go outside because it was getting warm out, and so it was good timing in that regard. But we really enjoyed it, and I'm personally, on a personal note, I'm pleased to see that the plan that you have here for Common and closing that Elm Street extension. It was actually open last year, and that was one of the things that I heard the most comments on was how, with the kids, and there were so many families down there, dozens and dozens of people, that having the traffic buzzing through the middle of the Common was not safe. So I'm pleased to see that you've done that and that everybody signed off on it. So now we'll just go to the other select board members here for any questions or comments. Jim O'Neill, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So, this is a good idea. I like it. Everything you've got laid out here, I think, is well thought through, and so I'm good with all that. You've got the note on weather permitting and, of course, COVID permitting. If we're still in some kind of a lockdown situation, how will it work? Can you just talk to that for just a second?
Absolutely. Thanks for reminding me about that. So we have two scenarios that we presented. The first was an in-person scenario. The second is going to be online, streaming through Facebook. So it'll be where we'll have the performers, whoever we get, to be at the actual Common on the stage, and then we will have one of us and film crew just down there filming and streaming live over social media. And we won't advertise, so we don't have people coming down to the Common, but so that all communities, even those that are outside of Walpole, can participate and be a part of the event.
Great. Well, let's hope that we don't have to fall back on Plan B, but I would just wanted to, let you say a little bit about what Plan B was all about. But no, I think this is good, well thought out. Looking forward to the event. So you have my support for it. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Mark?
Yeah, I would just agree with Jim. I think it looks like a well thought out plan, and it will be a great event. So I'm in favor of this as well.
Okay, great. Could you make a motion as well, Mark?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the request of Shantae Homes to use the town common and closed sections of Elm and Front Street on Saturday, June 19th, 2021, from 4 to 8 p.m. for a Juneteenth celebration, subject to them complying with all COVID-19 protocols that are in place at the time of the event.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Shantae, and everyone for joining us, and we look forward to the event.
Thank you very much.
Right, have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
You too.
All right, the next appointment we have is a vote request of the, CTA group for a common victualler license to operate at 514 High Plain Street. So do we have a representative? Aoife, do you know if a
I
representative?
believe Eli was, or his father-in-law was supposed to be on her. Is Eli?
Hi, it's Eli. Hi, here.
Hi,
Can you
Eli.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, we can. Okay, so and all of the Aoife, all of the paperwork and whatnot is in line for this request. We've seen the
Yes.
packet here.
I received everything for this application.
Okay. All right. So that being said, does any board member have any additional questions or comments for this gentleman on this application? Being that there is none, I'd hear a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the request of CTA Group LLC, DBA Sticks and Stones for a common victualer's license to operate at 514 High Plain Street, conditioned upon the applicant receiving final approval from the building and health departments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. We'll proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0. Thank you for being on tonight with us.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care. Moving on to the last appointment we have this evening, is an MBTA presentation on bus stop accessibility and safety improvement programming for 8 stops within Walpole, and there will be a vote of the board. So, Jim, who is going to?
Oh, we have I'm not sure who's leading the discussion for the MBTA on this one, but I can tell you, this is something MassDOT officials have been working with us on, particularly Carl and myself, to ensure that, everything is met. I wanted to make sure that the people who are impacted, the residents who are very close to these stations, all of their concerns have been heard, they've been reached out to, and that's why we've pushed this off the last few agendas, because there's been a couple of people who they just haven't been able to get a hold of, but since then, they have been in touch with everybody who's like a direct abutter. So, and this is to improve the handicapped accessibility at bus stops, so it has nothing to do with the train or anything like that. It's handicapped accessibility at the buses here in Walpole. So with that, I'll hand over to the person who's leading the discussion with the MassDOT. So is that you, Peter?
It's actually Natasha Vance with hi, I'm with the MBTA. I'm the transit project manager for the PADI program. Sorry, suddenly there's noise in my house. And I'm joined by Angela Saunders with McMahon, and I believe Pete Robluski is here. There you are, Pete. I'm not sure if I can share my screen so I can show, we have a little present, or if you guys have the presentation and you can present it, or?
Eva, do they have can we allow them to share the screen?
Or I think Eva has it if she would like to share it. It's fine either way.
No, we weren't prepared to share any presentation, so.
Okay.
Go ahead and try to share it and see if it works.
Okay. It looks like I can. Let me see.
Yeah, sorry, it's on. You should be able to share.
Oh, okay, great. But I'm, all right. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
I don't know why I can't see it though. Okay. Okay. So hi, I'm the transit project manager for the MBTA. The PADI program is the plan for accessible transit infrastructure, and we are in phase 2. And essentially what we are doing is trying to improve customer safety and accessibility and ADA compliance. This arose from essentially a lawsuit where the MBTA was required by activists to make sure all of our facilities comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So obviously we're working on stations and all the other components for the train infrastructure, but one of our biggest priorities was making sure the bus stops were actually ADA compliant. And so for the PADI program, that essentially means for our paired bus stops, we make sure there's an accessible path of travel from one bus stop to the other. So in the event of a rider is getting on one bus stop, when they return, they're going to get off on the other, and we want to make sure they can get from one to the other. So that's typically improving curb ramps, maybe adding a crosswalk, and then connecting to an ADA compliant path of travel that already exists in the town. And it helps the MBTA because we improve our speed and reliability. In some cases, we're consolidating stops if stops are too frequent, if they're not spaced appropriately according to what the MBTA is looking for. We're investing about $200,000 in pedestrian infrastructure with this particular design in Walpole, and they are all high priority stops that for PADI accessibility. And then lastly, we are doing a phased approach to design and construction where our designers are actively designing 20 or 30 stops at a time, and then they go into construction. So there is a good chance we'll be back in Walpole maybe later in the construction season or next year to work on more stops. So with that, I will turn it over to, it looks like Angela has the first slide.
Yes, good evening. I'm Angela Saunders. I work for McMahon. I'm the consultant on this pair of stops. The first stop is on the top side of the plan, which is stop number 77618. This is the stop that was existing on this side of the intersection with Lafayette Drive, and we're now moving it to the north, to the other side, the south side. Now that I see the north arrow. The top picture is the picture of the existing stop. So We're proposing to move it because there's an existing wall and this property is historic. So we don't want to improve too close to a historic property and impact the historic property. This is the proposed location of the new stop. And if you can see, we're going to be adding a sidewalk here and we'll be connecting to the existing sidewalk infrastructure around the corner. So that's part of the other reason why we chose this side of the stop. The third reason why we chose this side of the street is because MBTA prefers the bus stops to be far side of a crosswalk to provide additional safety of people trying to use the crosswalk. The bus isn't blocking drivers from seeing the pedestrians in the crosswalk. Natasha, can you go to the next slide? Because the next slide's for this. Oh, I guess we didn't. My sample had it. Can we go back then? I'm sorry, I didn't realize we did both stops in one slide. The next stop's on the south side, or on the east side of the street. This stop is not moving. We're maintaining it in its current location. That's the picture at the bottom. That stop is not moving. We're just adding additional sidewalk to create an accessible landing area and 2 curb ramps. We are, as part of this project, improving the curb ramp on the other side of Pilgrim Way over here. And we've improved additional sidewalk to meet the requirements of the town engineer. And I think that's everything on these stops.
All right, let's switch over to Pete so he can talk about this stop. Oh.
Yep, hi everybody. My name is Pete Robleski. I'm a consultant on this project. I work with Howard Side Hudson Engineering. As Natasha mentioned, these are some of the stops we designed. I don't know if I'm able to get control of the screen here, but if not, it's not a big deal. This is on Washington Street to try to orient you of what you're looking at. Right in front of Byrd Middle School, the long driveway entrance to approach the middle school. The existing bus stop, if you look at the top picture on this slide on the right, that's where the existing bus stop is, in front of the entrance to the middle school. And we are relocating that stop to the other side of the entrance to that driveway. The reason being is it's improved safety to have bus stops on the far side of crosswalks and intersections. And in front of middle school, that's something we really prioritized here. This was a high priority stop, and because we're moving the location of that bus stop to the other side of the entrance to the middle school, you can see we're making significant sidewalk improvements in that area as well. So the idea being that pedestrians could safely get from one side of the street to the other. We're improving the crosswalks and the pedestrian curb ramps at 3 of the locations. And then on the opposite side of Washington Street, we're also making some improvements there to meet ADA accessibility requirements, mainly just slopes and grades and widths to make sure that there's passability for all pedestrians and all travelers. If there's no questions on this one, we can move to the next one, which is also one of our stops. Okay. So this is on Washington Street at Peach Street. And you can see here, we are proposing 2 new locations for these bus stops. The existing locations were not, they were not friendly for accessibility for the bus stop itself. There wasn't a good space to have, if you can see on that image, there's an LA and a CZ. That stands for landing area and clear zone. And that's where the bus doors open on either side of these bus stops. That's part of ADA accessibility as well, to make sure that handicapped passengers can get on and off the bus easily. So again, here we're relocating this stop from nearby. You can see that the existing stop is not too far off of High Plain here, but we're just moving it to this location where we have better accessibility to put that sidewalk in and make those improvements to be able to fit wheelchairs in and out of the bus itself and to get them across the street safely. The other improvements we're doing here, in addition to the crosswalk, are improving the pedestrian curb ramps itself and the detectable warning strips. And then I'm looking at it on my screen here. We're also showing some RRFBs, which are those flashing beacons that you see on the crosswalk that has a push button, so pedestrians can push that to alert traffic that there's going to be pedestrians crossing, so that they know, it's a safer crossing at this location. The volume of the traffic on the road indicated that we should be putting that there. Then I believe I have one more slide. Yep, so this is East Street and School Street, and you can see here that this is right in front of the library, if you know where you're at in East and School. These 4 stops, and I think I saw that Carl is in here. I talked to Carl a little bit about these months ago. I don't know if you remember Carl, but this is a while back. And these locations, these actual curb ramps, are being developed as a part of, I believe, a mitigation within the city of Walpole. The developer is doing some property work there, and so that's why we don't see the curb ramps being altered here. But you do see us improving the bus stops, and again, we're relocating the stop on the north side of the street from what we call a near side to a far side location. So the bus stop is moving from the less desirable near side location to the more desirable far side location after the intersection. The reason we didn't do that for the bus stop on the south side of the street is just the viability of that was going to be too cumbersome on the far side of the intersection. There are significant utility obstructions, and there wasn't as great existing sidewalk facility. So we felt that in the interest of passenger and pedestrian feasibility, it was best to leave it on the near side. So that's in front of the library to get these pedestrians accessibility to these bus stops, and then the mitigation project that's a part of that development and the adjacent property is going to take care of the curb ramps itself. And I apologize, Natasha, can we go back one slide up? This location here is, I think it was Jim who mentioned that we were trying to get in contact with all the residents and the property owners. This is the location where that conversation has happened. One of the abutters, you can see right where we're proposing most of the work on the north side of the street. That abutter is someone that we had difficulty contacting, and we eventually did make contact with them, and they're aware of the project going on. And there was another, I believe it was the next door neighbor there, believed that they were an abutter and actually was not an abutter to the project. So we're not trying to keep this secret from anyone. We're not trying to keep anything under wraps. It's just part of the process was we reached out to the direct abutters first. And then obviously as construction proceeds and this project gets approved, they'll be notified that construction's coming through to let them know what's going on right adjacent to their property. Natasha, did you want to go over the rest of these, or did you want me to take any of these on?
I think I guess if you have the details on this, that would be great. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So this is you can see here. These are some stops that we're proposing to eliminate. Where you see on the left side of the screen here, the intersection where there's the strike through. Step number 97618 and 85618 at the intersection of Main Street and East Street. Because those stops are so close to the 2 gray dots that are right there, and they're also so close to the 2 that intersect the library, which is the last 2 stops on this slide that we just talked about, we're eliminating these 2 locations. The reason that they're being eliminated is because you can see by the color orange, they were through the PADI process, they're medium priority stops, meaning that the ridership or the location isn't as high priority as the red stops, the high priority stops, which we are developing and improving at that library location. And just because of that proximity, we don't want to be redundant. It cleans up travel times, and it's close enough where people can walk to either of the two stops where they're going, where they don't need this one in the middle. And it just kind of speeds up process and eliminates some traffic and tries to get more efficient bus routes going through. So that's why those two are being eliminated from the route. That doesn't require any construction. We're just going to pull some signs out of the road. That's about it.
Okay, thanks, Pete and Angela. I appreciate it. Lastly, these dates are a little bit off. We had been trying to coordinate with coming to the town for a while, but we are wrapping up 100% design and looking for the approval from the town. And then once we have approval, we'll move to final stamped plans, and our contractor will get a permit and construct the stops this construction season. And I guess if there are any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Yeah, while we let's see, Carl, are you still on? I just can't see the full screen. Oh, there we go, Carl.
Yes, Ben. Carl Baldoff, town engineer. Let me get squared away here. The presentation was excellent. We've been working with both designers for the MBTA for quite a while, as Peter discussed. I'll just point out in the presentation, Peter made several references to the library at School and East Street, and that library is in reality a block over. So I'm not quite sure. It's definitely at School and East Street and not in front of the library. Just as a point of clarification for everybody listening. But we've been working for quite a while, and actually the stops at School and East Street were adjusted to coordinate with the plans that Pulte has. That's the developer that Peter mentioned. So it's all been coordinated with those plans. So none of these designs should be stepping on what's going on with other intersection improvements that are required out of the Pennington Crossing development. And these are quality plans. They did a good job. They surveyed, they put lots of thought into that. They responded to our comments. Technical comments, and our review is really a constructability review. So, we're pleased to see it get this far and that they've done a good job.
Great, thank you, Carl. And I appreciate your efforts in this as well, and with all the coordination that goes into these types of projects. One question that I had is you had mentioned, and I believe Peter, it was you who had mentioned that there were flashers at one location there on Washington Street due to high volume of traffic and probably speeds as well. And are there flashers as well at the stop near the school, or if not, why would there not be warning flashes at that location?
We don't have them there due to visibility. It's we have them proposed on Washington Street because it's a visible street, but it's a new crosswalk that we're adding to a mid-block location. The crosswalk that's going in front of Bird Middle School, it's not an intersection in the sense that it doesn't go to and I don't know this, I'm assuming it's not a Walpole maintained street because it's a private entrance to a school, but it acts as an intersection because there's a crosswalk already existing there, and it's a stopping location. It's not a marked stop location, but it's an intersection that wouldn't be considered a mid-block crossing. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason we didn't propose those flashing beacons at that location.
I see. Okay. All right.
Ben, if you 1 second, as a point of clarification, I think the RRFB is on High Plain Street and not Washington Street.
Okay.
That's correct.
High Plain Street. Okay. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said High Plain. My mistake.
No. Thank you, Carl. All right, so we'll just go to the other select board members here for any questions or comments before we hear a motion. Jim O'Neill?
Yes, I have several questions, actually. You've mentioned that you've contacted all the abutters, but you really didn't give us any sense for the feedback that you got from the abutters. I wonder if you could just give us a sense for what did you hear from the people who you reached out to are going to be affected by, the work and the moves of some of these stops?
So I can address a little bit of that, and then I might turn it over to Pete. So the abutter that we were struggling to contact was, I believe, Mr. Schoen. at 34 High Plains. I did speak with him on the phone. He didn't have an issue with the location of the bus stop. His concern was just making sure it was accessible, which is the whole purpose of this project. So we just talked through with him that we're not going to be able to create an accessible path of travel on both sides of High Plains Street. The town already has one on side, and what we were trying to do is ensure that the paired bus stops, that there was an accessible path of travel between them. And I believe Pete also spoke with him, and then the other neighbor, I believe his name is Mr. Green. He left me a voicemail, and I turned him over to Pete to talk to. So Pete, I'm going to I it over to you and let you
Sure.
go through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a product of the pandemic, but I called both Mr. Schoen and Mr. Green with my personal cell phone, which has an area code from not Massachusetts. So people tend to not answer my calls. So I left voicemails for both of them. Haven't heard back. The feedback we have gotten from residents that we've talked to are just like Natasha said. It's more concerned about accessibility is the one primary feedback we heard. But then for the most part, when we do contact the butters in general, we haven't been met with pushback. We've been, if anything, it's indifference or appreciation. That's typically the response we get from the abutters that we talk to. But it is, it is important for us to make sure that we follow up on both Mr. Schoen and Mr. Green. And they reached out to us, and we've definitely returned calls, but haven't been able to make that contact yet.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be important to make that contact. One of them, I think, I don't know which one, but the pictures you were showing, there was one there was a kind of a fence or a wall, and it was relatively close to the street.
Yep.
And when I think about what you would be doing there to create the bus stop,
yeah.
I'm wondering how that wall comes into play.
So I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you got my question.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're able to bring up the slides again so I can confirm which one you're looking at. But I believe it was on High Plains Street, and
yes,
okay, so the existing, okay, so you're talking about this top picture here?
Hang on, I gotta get you back here.
No worries.
Yes, that's the one. Yep.
Okay, so that picture, that is on the, let's see here. Yeah, that's on the south side of the street, and it's not something that we're going to, actually, let me just see if I can pull up Street View here. Am I able to share my screen?
Sure, I stopped sharing, so I think I was able to share just by hitting the share screen button.
Okay, I'll do that in a second here.
Okay.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Is it working for you, Pete?
Yep, I believe okay. So. Are you guys?
I can't see your screen.
If you just hit the share screen, you gotta be able to. Yep.
There we go. Now it's
okay.
Now it's coming out.
Okay, so just to orient yourself, there's East Street here, and a High Plain comes off. The existing bus stop, Google shows it right here in the middle of this little pork chop on Peach Street. Yeah. In reality, there's not a marked stop there, and the stop going this direction was eliminated by the T at one point in the past, and we're reintroducing it. This is a high priority stop, and because of the lack of another stop on this route, there's no other bus stops on High Plain here. So if you look at where we're proposing, I believe that fence. Okay, so this is where Peach Street comes in right here, and this is that location where the fence is that will be replacing some of this location. We're replacing a crosswalk here, and we're not touching this fence at all. On this side of the street, this is where the retaining wall with these like the stone fences, we're also not touching this location. We're only going to be touching right here. So where this car is parked, and we did get in contact with this property owner and let them know that we're planning to propose sidewalk right here where that car is. However, we're only working within Walpole right away. We're not taking any property from the owner. We're not doing any sort of easements. It's all within Walpole property limits. So the extension of the bus stop would be here. We'd cross the street with our flashing beacon here to this location, and then continue down this way, where at one point we had preliminarily talked about putting a bus stop here, and I apologize, I think that's no longer the case. That was several iterations ago last year. Either way, we wouldn't be touching anything on private property, touching any abutters' fences. The only thing that comes into play here is this location right outside of the marked lane here, but still within Walpole property.
Yeah. And it looks like on the plans we do have a stop in front of a vinyl fence, but it's a good probably 6 feet off the fence, because our bus stop is actually in front of that bituminous asphalt path.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so our construction is in front of the path and wouldn't impact the fence.
Okay, I was going by the picture that you showed us.
Sure.
And,
totally.
And so I don't know if that's is that picture that you showed us a wrong picture?
It's the picture that's here is where that bus stop used to be, and there's nothing there now, and that's what that picture shows. But we can replace that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if and when you're telling me is there no and that when you say there are no takings, that's a broad statement to cover every one of these bus stops, right?
Correct.
It's part of the Patty. I'm sorry. Part of
everything.
Go ahead.
So everything is in the road layout, correct?
Yes.
It's in town layout, yes.
Okay. All right, so that's my first question. My second one has to do with communication. So people are used to the bus stops being in certain places. Mm-hmm. I know you're dealing with the high priority bus stops and not the medium priority, and presumably there are low priorities as well. Mm-hmm. So any bus stop that's getting eliminated, how are we telling people that the bus stop is getting eliminated and they will need to go somewhere else to get the bus?
Yeah, so the T will post a sign on the stop post itself, noting that the status of the stop, and it will be I think it's 2 weeks notice, and it will also indicate the direction of the closest stop and how far away it is. So it's not like it'll just disappear overnight. People will be notified.
Do you have any idea how far, like for any of the bus stops that are being eliminated, so the people that are using those bus stops, they're gonna have to go somewhere else. Do you have any idea what's the longest distance that anybody is gonna have to go to a new bus stop?
Pete, I don't know if you can get to the stops that we're eliminating. There's another set of stops right next to it. I don't know the distance off the top of my head, but maybe if you can.
Yeah, I believe it was East and Main, correct? So these are the stops that are being eliminated, and these are the stops that are proposed. So if we just measure the distance here, it's a little over 800 feet. And that's within the limits of the MBTA guidelines. It depends on the type of zone you're in, whether it's urban or rural or what type of service it provides. But there's different guidelines on spacing, and that's one of the determinants that we came to. The reason that any of these bus stops are being proposed to be eliminated is because they're underused, and we wouldn't be eliminating a stop unless there was another stop close by like this that could be in service. So if it was, I think 1,200 feet was our limit here. I think if it was, go ahead.
Let me just interrupt for just 1 second too. There's also a stop immediately below the Eastern Main Street. So that's maybe 100 feet in that direction.
Yeah, that's the other direction.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, that's okay. It's hard in this virtual environment. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so
And in any of the places where you're doing any construction, are there any utilities that you need to deal with?
No, we are not. Well, we try to locate our stops so that we aren't impacting utilities. I don't think in any of these locations we have any utility conflicts. Angela, Pete, am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I'm hesitant to say zero because there could be something that didn't come through in a survey or that isn't marked out there. But if there are utility conflicts, they won't be underground. It'll just be the frame and grates that are adjusted. It won't be any line work. It'll be minor vertical adjustments of the utility frames.
Yeah, and occasionally we impact like a drainage structure, and maybe we have to adjust yeah. But if we were to have any impacts on utilities, the MBTA would be responsible for making those repairs or changes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thanks, Jim. Mark Delavan?
Yeah, just to go back to Jim's first point, as you showed the High Plains road area where the car was parked, I completely understand that that's within the Walpole Road layout. I think it is important to let that homeowner know that, you know, the place they normally park their car, which they may consider to be their land, is in fact town land and will be used for the bus stop. So I don't know whether that's in a BTA notification or Carl, you reaching out to the homeowner and just let them know what's coming. So I just hate to see somebody surprised when equipment shows up and they start moving dirt. So just in any case where that's happening, it would be important to notify the homeowners on any of those spots, just so there's no support.
I hear you loud and clear, and we totally agree that even though it's legal, that doesn't mean that it's, you know, we're going to go do it blindly and tear up legal property without alerting the homeowner because it is right in front of their house. We have made contact. They do know what's coming, but it is something that it's it has taken a while to make that contact, and we will make sure that there is a solid communication line and an understanding of what's actually going to happen before we go out there and do any road work.
And I would also add that our contractor will also put up a flyer 2 weeks prior to construction actually starting, so that people are aware when the construction will actually begin. And the turnaround time on these bus stops is anywhere from 5 to 10 days, so it's a very quick project as far as construction goes.
Okay, that's great. Notification is very helpful for everybody, and it sounds like you're planning to do that, so that's great.
Yeah, I can tell you we've sent letters, knocked on the door, made phone calls. We're definitely putting a full effort into making that contact, because I totally agree. That's the most important thing with this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. You know, I agree fully with Mark and Jim, and I made my comments beforehand. So, Mark, if we could just make our motions here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve recommended improvements for the intersection at Washington Street and Lafayette Drive / Pilgrim Way. Do we want to vote these separately, or can I do all four at once?
I just split them out because I didn't know if there was going to be any issues so that you could vote them separately, but I think it's okay to vote them all as one. Is that okay, Jim, do you think?
I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
All right, let me do the other three, and we can always pull one back if there's an issue. So
okay, sounds good.
Motion to approve recommended improvements to the intersection at Washington Street and Bird Middle School driveway. I'll make another motion to approve recommended improvements for the intersection at High Plain Street and Peach Street. I'll make a motion to approve recommended improvements for the intersection at East Street and School Street.
So second.
So we have a motion and a second, and we'll proceed with a roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And aye. The motion passes 3-0-0 for all four recommended improvements as stated in the motion. So thank you, Natasha, Peter, Angela. Appreciate the presentation, all the information you were able to give us. And certainly just to reiterate, because this is what we do, communication to the community at large is the key. And so to the extent that we can get the information to the people in a timely manner, that's one of the most important things that we try to do here. So I really appreciate your efforts in that regard.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right, have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Have a good night, man. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, moving on. So going to new business here, and I see that we have some other folks that may need to be on for other items. So I'm going to skip over this, skip over new business item number 1 for a minute. We're going to go to new business item 2, which is a vote to sign the 2021 annual town election warrant. Jim Johnson, any additional information there?
No, just the standard election warrant.
Yeah.
So Liz can go forward and get ready for the election that will be held the first Saturday in June, which is June 5th.
June 5th, coming right up. Okay, I would hear a motion if someone would like to make one.
I'll make a motion to sign the 2021 annual town election warrant.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Being that there's no further discussion, proceed with a roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0.
Thank you.
And let's see, the next item here is Adams Farm events requests. Mark, if you wouldn't mind running us through these.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the request of Angela Coate to use Adams Farm on May 8th, 2021 from 9 a.m. to noon for a hike and yoga fundraiser, subject to them complying with all COVID-19 protocols that are in place at the time of the event.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Jody Cuneo to use Adams Farm on May 8th, 2021 from 2 to 6 p.m. for an engagement party subject to them complying with all COVID-19 protocols that are in place at the time of the event.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0.
Motion to approve request of Christina Davis to use Adams Farm on April 22nd, May 27th, June 24th, July 22nd, August 26th, and September 23rd, 2021 from 6 to 9 p.m. for Eagle Scout board meetings for the BSA Metacomet District, Mayflower Council, subject to them complying with all COVID-19 protocols that are in place at the time of the event.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Norfolk County Agricultural High School to use Old Fisher Ball Field on June 3rd, 2021 for graduation night.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0.
I'll make a motion to renew the junk dealer and junk collector licenses as listed on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. Motion passes 3-0-0. Okay. Let's go back to item 1 here under new business, which is the discussion and vote on the charge and makeup for the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the MPIC, and a vote to appoint the Select Board designee. So we have the charge in our packet that was written up. We have Pat DeShanes here with us. the Economic Development Director, Patrick Shield as well, the Assistant Town Administrator. So Jim, if you'd like to lead us into this, that's fine, or Pat and Patrick can go ahead and give us a little bit of background.
I'll hand it off to Patrick Duchesne. I would just say that since coming to Walpole, this is one of the things that I asked Pat to make sure that goes to the top of his priority list. He's been working on it. We've gone forward and selected Judy Barrett and her company, Barrett Planning Group, to help us and serve as our consultant on this one. And it's ready to go. So Pat, anything really to add or background? Duchesne?
Yeah. So Mr. Chairman, thank you for having me. So before you, both myself and Mr. Shield, we took the time to kind of look into the makeup of the committee itself. This is a very important process, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for public feedback and responses through public engagement exercises. But this committee itself will be more or less the steering committee for the master plan process that will work directly with myself, Mr. Shields, and Judy Barrett, our consultant. So when looking at the makeup of the committee, we wanted to find something that was both a good representation of the town, but also manageable as a group, which is how we came up with the 9-member committee. 2 planning board positions were the one kind of prominent addition, as opposed to just 1 member, being how important the planning board is in the adoption of the master plan itself. And I'd be happy to ask to take any questions on the makeup.
Okay, so what we're looking at tonight, and I know that there's 3 select board members here tonight, and we want to get this moving. And so what this really represents is, as I understand it, is 2 votes. 1 vote on the proposed group makeup. Excuse me, I guess is it 3 votes? 1 vote on the proposed group makeup, 1 vote on the charge for that group, and then 1 vote on the select board participant conceivably. Is that what we're looking at, Jim? Okay. So what this is really is a kickoff point, the way I see it. We need to start this process. We have our consultant lined up. We have Pat and Patrick ready to go, and we need to get these 9 folks rounded up. And so my experience over the past couple of years in trying to select individuals from various boards and committees, get those boards and committees on board, get them to bring their people in, get that group organized, is conceivably the most cumbersome part of the entire process, time consuming. So even though we have 3 members with us tonight, I'm loath to kick this down the road another 2 weeks and not be able to kickstart this process. It would basically just be the select board holding this up. So, but I would like to hear from both Jim O'Neill and Mark on their opinions in that regard. So why don't we just go around and questions, comments on any of the 3 votes that are before us here tonight, Jim and Mark, and any questions or comments you may have for Pat and Patrick on all the information they've provided for us. So, Jim O'Neill, why don't you start, please?
Yeah, so with respect to the question of the number of select board members that are here tonight, it's true we have a quorum. My preference, and I know, Ben, I know exactly what you're saying when you say you're loath to push this out. I am too. But just given the importance of this body of work, it strikes me that we really should have at least 4 members of the board here, and preferably all 5. I mean, this is something we don't do very often. It is very important to the overall strategies and directions that we set for the town going forward. It becomes the guiding document, and it needs to be, very well conceived, very well planned, and of course, very well executed in order for it to be effective. So my preference is to wait the 2 weeks until we have at least 4 members here, and preferably 5, so that we can give it the right discussion around not only the charter itself, which I'll say more about that in a minute, but also the makeup of the board. So that's where I stand on that. with respect to the charter, so Patrick, I think you've done a really good job, you and the others who have worked on this, pulling this charter together. I think it's comprehensive, and I'm satisfied with the words of the charter. Likewise, I think the 9-member committee is also very good, and I happen to be a fan of the 2 planning board members. I think the planning board is all about planning, and they're elected officials. So I just think that's very, very important that we do have the 2 on there. So I'm good with the way you've got it constructed. I'm good with the structure of the charge itself. And on the last point, I would very much like to be the select board representative to this committee if and when we finally get around to voting that. It's something I have a lot of passion for and something that I think I could, add some value on. So I know, Ben, you were looking for people to offer up, their names, recognizing that it's a big time commitment and all that, and I'm willing to do that. So those are my thoughts, Ben. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Mark, please.
Sorry, I couldn't tell if I was muted or not. I like the makeup that's suggested in the memo for the master plan committee. I do agree with Jim that it's probably better to wait till our next meeting to vote this. I do hate to let things drag out, but I know Nancy's away in a place where she doesn't have good internet, and she's been very involved with planning in the master plan over time, and I'm sure she would appreciate an opportunity to be involved in that discussion. So I'd suggest we hold that off for 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, we will put this on again in 2 weeks. Possibly Pat and Patrick. Given the 3 of us, our view on the individuals that have been selected here. Maybe we could at least kickstart some outreach to these groups to let them know, what's coming and that upon our meeting in 2 weeks that we'll know for sure one way or the other what the involvement's going to be, just to preface that effort so they're not surprised, and hopefully, they can get moving then on that quickly as soon as we can make a decision, and hopefully we have full attendance at our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for all your work on this, guys. We'll definitely look forward to talking about this again.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Patrick. All right. And consent agenda.
Yeah, consent agenda. I'll make a motion to accept a $200 donation from County Consultants, Inc. to Turner Pond Lodge gift account. Also make a motion to accept a $100 donation from Alexander F. Thomas and Sons Funeral Home to Turner Pond Lodge gift account.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0.
I'll also do minutes. A motion to approve the minutes of April 6th, 2021, as presented in our packet.
Second.
Motion and a second. Proceed with the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0. Moving on to Jim Johnson and the town administrator's update. Jim, take it away.
Sure. Just a couple of items to go over here. COVID update. At this time, there was 1,971 total confirmed cases in Walpole. 1,938 have completed monitoring. So we have 33 active cases. That's pretty low. It's the lowest as far as I can remember in a really long time. So that's good to see the numbers going down. Town meeting, just my reminder here that we continue to prepare for this. We're going to have town meeting on May 1st out on Turco Field at the Walpole High School at 10 a.m. Finance Committee set to hold their public hearing on the warrant articles on Tuesday, April 27th at 6 p.m. I expect that we're going to post a select board meeting, if all of you are okay with it, for 9 a.m. May 1st, likely somewhere on the softball field, maybe near the batting cages, the overhang or the tennis court, somewhere around there, just to vote on Article 17 recommendation for that, since the planning board hearing is not until it was continued until the 29th. So Ben, do you have a problem with that, or do any board members?
No, in fact, I look forward to it. So,
okay, so motions for motions for town meeting are all set, and packets went out last week. The warrants were mailed out to all the residents last week too. So we're in really good shape with getting everything out to the residents and the people of Walpole. Everything's also online on the town website. So that's it for town meeting. Route 1A road work. I was advised today by MassDOT that the actual physical road work is not going to begin until mid-May or so. They didn't give me an exact date. Between now and when the actual work starts, the contractor is going to continue to work on the signage, tree cutting, erosion control installation, and drainage at Hoover Road. The sign that's at the Commons does not belong to the town. It's the digital message board sign, but I did ask them to update that. It's driving me a little crazy when it says road work to begin April 12th. So I'm hoping they'll do that for me. We also created a homepage, a website on the town's homepage that residents can go to get up-to-date information. We're going to be updating that about every week or every other week, depending on how much information is available. So just pump out as much information as possible because we want to keep everyone informed. Last item, as all of you know, Chief Carmichael has accepted a position in Newton as their chief. John's been a great partner here in Walpole for a very long time. I was sad to see him go. I tried to convince him to stay, but he was looking forward to this opportunity. So he has not given me an official date when his last day will be. I do expect it to be the first or second week in June, so we do have some time. And I expect that the board will likely want to hire a search firm to conduct a search and conduct an assessment center of the top candidates. So this is going to take some time and some planning. I expect Patrick and I have already started working on a scope of that I'd like to have the board review prior to us putting it out, requesting an assessment center and a search firm. So I expect that we will have something in the next 1 to 2 meetings. I'd also like to come forward and kind of present a game plan as to how we should proceed with this search. Obviously, we haven't done a big, extensive search outside of town. The last one I can think of is when I was selected as the town administrator. We hired a search firm. We did a nationwide search, and I felt as though as a candidate who had been the assistant town administrator for 10 years, that I really earned the position. It wasn't just given to me, and I'm assuming that's the route the board may want to take, but I would like to get some directive from the board at, between now and the end of May or something that, yes, Jim, this is what we want to do. We're comfortable with this game plan in place, make it happen. And it is going to take some time. I can tell you, I was the acting from about July to, I think it was February when they finally selected me. So it takes time. So we're also going to have to appoint an interim chief, which I would recommend be the deputy for obvious purposes, for obvious reasons. So all of this should be discussed by the board on an agenda, as an agenda item at one of the upcoming meetings. So just want to let you all know I'm thinking about it. And obviously with just getting this news from John last Thursday, I didn't have an opportunity to really put everything together on the agenda.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. I appreciate the legwork that you've done over the last couple of days. Just in terms of the search for a new chief, I agree with what you've said as far as, acknowledging that we're going to need to move to someone on an interim basis, and that it makes sense for a myriad of reasons that be the current deputy chief, Kelleher. And of course, we'll discuss that further, as you said, and this is something that's not being decided tonight by any stretch of the imagination. But I am comfortable as well with going with an outside search firm. I think that's the right thing to do. I think that will allow us also to take into account, some aspects of community participation and folks from the community who want to take part in this. I think it's something that's beyond any of us. So I certainly agree with your thoughts in that regard. Jim, any questions or comments?
I would just congratulate the chief on his new opportunity, and I hate to see him go. I think he's done a great job. He's a wonderful chief and a wonderful person. But he also has earned it, and he's achieved a lot here, and I'm sure he'll do very well in his new job. So just congratulations. Thanks, Ben.
Great. Mark, any further questions or comment?
Yeah, I would just say the same thing. I wish Chief Carmichael well. I wish he was staying in Walpole, but I know Newton is a big challenge, and he'll do a great job there. I agree with what you all have said. It would be great to get this on an agenda item and talk it through. I am in favor of bringing in a search company to assist us with the process. I think that's a great way to do it, and look forward to discussing that at one of the future meetings.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mark. And that concludes the business on our agenda for tonight. So if there is any further comments or questions from the board members or anyone present, being that there is none, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
With a motion and a second, I'll proceed with a roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Ben, aye. The motion passes 3-0-0. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody.